All right, so welcome back for this week's edition of Parsha and Parnassa, where we go through in 8 minutes or less at 8 p.m. Eastern every week. We go through and look at what's the connection between the weekly Torah portion, the weekly Parsha, and how it relates to Parnassa and running a business. So practical things from the Torah and insights and lessons that really spoke to me and hopefully speak to your heart and your soul, as well as how they can speak to and apply to your business and what you do professionally. So there's a few things that really stuck out to me in this week's Parsha, to be honest. The sacrifice of Isaac, something I take a little bit personally. I wonder why. And another thing that really comes to mind about that is more than just specifically the story of the sacrifice, which kind of is well known worldwide. It's that level of self-dedication to say, you know what, I might have all these dreams and all these things that I want, but maybe there's a bigger purpose that's way bigger than just me. Maybe there's something that's beyond just cash flow and clients and all of the comforts of the world. Maybe there's something greater than that, and maybe I don't know what it is. Maybe I can't see the other side of that. And so I'm imagining myself as Isaac being with Avraham as Isaac, as he's walking with me to sacrifice. And I know there's no animal he's bringing with him. He just has a butcher's knife, and it's pretty much me and the butcher's knife. So I'm pretty clear about what's going on. But yet, I don't run off. Yet, there's some level of self-discipline to say, you know what, there's something greater, there's something bigger here than just what I want and what I'm thinking about. And that level of focus and that level of desire to contribute and be a part of something bigger than yourself, that's what we call why. That's what we call purpose. But the truth is, most people go after the comforts, the cash flow, and the clients. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's great to do that. But the higher level, perhaps, and the reason why the story makes it perhaps one of the most famous stories or among the most famous stories in the entire Torah is because there's a level of focus and giving of oneself that is incredibly unparalleled. And when you have that level of purpose and self-discipline, you become unstoppable because literally death itself, the fear of losing what's most dear to you, which is life, you're not worried about rejection. You're no longer worried about losing feeling alive. You're no longer worried about things because nothing can stop you since you already faced death in the face. But you did it from a place of, not I'm a daredevil who's going to jump off mountains, right? Or jump out of airplanes. But from this place of, I have a certain level of clarity of this is what is most important right now. And I might not know what's on the other side. I mean, could you think about this? I mean, right now, this is election week. Could you imagine if everyone in the United States was so clear with a level of certainty that, you know what, it doesn't matter what's on the other side. Whoa, it doesn't matter what's on the other side because guess what? Nothing's going to change for at least 2.5 months. It's the same president. We have certainty about that. But we don't know what's going to be in a year from now or 2 years from now or 3 years from now. We do not have that clarity. And so the story of Isaac and Avraham going to sacrifice his son is one that's about getting certainty, not from knowing what will be, but getting certainty and direction and clarity from a place of getting to knowing that this is why I'm here right now. This is why I'm here right now. This is my job right now. This is what I'm supposed to do. And could you imagine if business owners had that level of clarity and could help their employees and their clients have that level of purpose, direction, and clarity in what they were doing? That creates an unstoppable business leader. And you know what happens to unstoppable business leaders? They also influence people and they also become affluent people. They also influence people and they also become affluent people. But it starts from inside here, not from the cash flow that you're thinking comes from grabbing money from outside there. Okay, so that was the first thing, the binding of Isaac, that really struck a chord. Right? Nothing to do with my name, of course, but it really does. So that was the first thing. The second thing that really came to mind is, how often do you feel like you have a situation and you're just like, you want to grab God by the lapels, so to speak, and just say, why are you doing this? As if you could just help him see things from your perspective so he could change his course to make sure that things turn out the way that you want them to. So can you imagine someone doing that? Actually, Could you imagine the first Jew in the world, the first one to ever step up and say, there is one God in this world, the creator of the world. The first and only, sorry, not the only, but the only person at that time, and the first person to do that was Avraham. And guess what happens? God says, Avraham, I just want to let you know, I know your nephew lives in this terrible place called Sodom, which, by the way, was so bad that to this day we have a word named after that city. It's called Sodomy, right? It's pretty bad stuff. So this concept of Avraham coming up to God and saying, God, well, would you really destroy it if there's 50 righteous people? Would you really destroy it if there was 40 righteous people? Would you really destroy it if there was 30 or 10 or 20? Would you really destroy it? You're not that evil. He's literally starting to question God and almost argue with him. And not only does the Torah mention it, but the Torah tells us his full conversation as if he's trying to let us know that in case you're thinking about arguing with God, just so you know, Avraham did it too. Like there's validity in actually doing that and questioning and saying, God, this does not seem right. What you're telling me, what you're showing me in this physical world does not seem right. And I'm questioning you on it. Not questioning from a place of rebelliousness, questioning from a place of this seems to be like a greater thing to do something different. Guess what? Challenging status quo, where we will look and we say, this is the way things are. And we just stop there. That's where we plateau. Guess what? That's where most people plateau. We call them employees. You know why? Because they signed up to be part of someone else's dream. They sign up to be a part of supporting someone else's business because they didn't question status quo the same level that the business owner did. Status quo is easy to receive a paycheck from someone. It's easy. But you know what? It's actually not easy to receive a paycheck from someone because then you don't learn to be able to generate income from within. And so when Avraham questions status quo, what he teaches every single person, and I believe every single business owner, is what you see is not what you should always accept. And I think that there's a lot of exceptions to that. Perhaps maybe most of the time, you should be more accepting of what you're given and what you see. But be willing to do what no one else has done before. You know how status quo came to be? Because someone made a decision and they did it and no one else had done it before that person had done it. And then other people followed and they became the standard that was known around. That became status of everyone. But it started with one person who said status quo is no longer good. And they questioned it. As Jews, as people created by God, we are allowed to ask God about his decisions. There's no such thing as blind faith. That is massively unhealthy. But not to do it in a rebellious way, but to do it and say, God, I believe that you are a just and right God. And when I question status quo, what you're saying as a business owner is, you know what? I see this. I see the circumstance. I have this complaint from my client. I have this frustration from whoever it is. I see that this is the norm, the industry norm. How often have you heard that? Oh my gosh, that word drives me nuts. What do other people do in your industry? Guess what? Maybe the whole reason why there's a whole rush of things called disruption and disruptive sales is because it's about questioning status quo, about challenging what is. You can create something greater that isn't yet. And so with these 2 points of questioning God and also what does it mean to sacrifice? I think that when you take both of these and you start applying them to what you're doing in your business and say, where can I challenge myself and question status quo in my team, in my sales, in my marketing, in comparison to what my competitors are doing? And where can I think of something greater than myself, something greater than what I'm currently doing, and see the higher purpose and self-sacrifice and contribution that's available to me in what I'm doing on a regular basis? Because that is perhaps the reason why Isaac, but myself, right? Why he felt that there was this level of discipline where any normal, sane person would realize what was going on and run for the hills. But he said, you know what? There's something greater than me. Look at what's going on in your business. Look at what's going on amongst your competitors. The way to get a raving culture of fans behind your business is to be willing to do what no one else is doing, to be willing to be able to contribute and give and show up and sacrifice from within. I'm not saying too much. I'm saying a healthy, disciplined, calculated amount. To sacrifice from within. And from there, you change the nature of what's possible. Have a great Shabbos.